Today we're going to make a 3-cheese ravioli, and I'll show you how to make this from scratch with no pasta machine. It's like a ravioliution in the kitchen. Let's go ahead and cut to it here and get started. The first thing we need to do is make our pasta dough. Trust me, you really do need it. And to get started, we want 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're just going to create a little well in the center. You could totally do this straight on your counter, Italian grandmother style, but I actually find it a little easier to knead in the bowl. Next, we want 1 teaspoon of salt. And we will be making an egg pasta here. It really is excellent. I've tried making just a wheat pasta with all-purpose flour and water, but I really wasn't a fan of the texture. The protein in the eggs really gives you a nice chewiness to your fresh pasta, which I love. So per 2 cups of flour, we're going to need 3 large eggs, and we're probably also going to need a tablespoon or 2 of water, but the eggs vary a little bit, so I like to get it mixing first and then decide if we need to add more water or not at that point. And your fingers are hands down the best tool for this. And to think I told my wife I wouldn't be yoking around all day. I could tell pretty much right away this was going to need a little more water, but I must be a gluten for punishment because I just kept mixing anyway. Once it got to this point, I was ready to accept defeat, and we're going to add about 1 tablespoon of water here. We want to be careful not to add too much liquid. We really just want enough so that this can come together for us into a smooth dough ball. This was still a little dry, so I added another teaspoon of water, and we just want to continue kneading this for about 5 minutes or so until it becomes completely smooth. Once it has, you can see why it really did need it. It's nice and smooth. It shouldn't be sticky, but it should be a little bit springy. That is your perfect pasta dough. But we shouldn't use this right away. It needs 20 to 30 minutes to rest. It's tired after all that kneading, so we'll just go ahead and cover this with a little plastic wrap. But that's it for our pasta. See, wasn't that easy? But my hands are a mess, so don't forget to wash your hands. And while that's resting, let's go ahead and make our cheese filling. This is going to be a 3-cheese filling starting with 1 pound of ricotta cheese. To that, we're going to add 1 large egg, and you might wonder to yourself, why the egg? Well... Tradition! Tradition! Okay, to our traditional egg, we're going to add half a cup of Parmesan cheese, along with 1 full cup of mozzarella cheese. Some people don't, but I do like to season my cheese filling with just a scant pinch of salt and pepper to taste. I would tell you a pepper pun, but it was a little corny. Alright, let's just get all of this mixed together. Once we've reached a sufficient state of cheese blendification, we could cover this and store in the fridge for up to a week, or just use it immediately. So it's been 20 minutes and our pasta dough should be sufficiently rested. And for ravioli, I like portioning this into quarters because we want big giant sheets. So we'll just go ahead and cut that into fourths, and then as we're working with our primary piece, we'll just leave the other 3 wrapped in plastic until we need them. And the key to making your ravioli really top-notch is all in the rolling. We want this to be super thin, and we'll start out just by flattening this into a rough disc with our hands. And then it's time to roll out, literally. We may or may not need flour for the rolling. Sometimes I find I can get away without it, but I did wind up having to use some flour in order to get this thin enough. At this thickness, you're going to be tempted, but that's still way too thick. Keep going. We pretty much want to roll this as thin as we can get it. Keep in mind, this is going to double up. And we're looking to get at least 4 jumbo-sized raviolis per sheet. I decided to roll this out a little more, and I would say, when in doubt, just keep on rolling. Once we think it's thin enough, we'll just have a quick look. Yes, I think the technical term for that is quite thin. And now we get to actually assemble our 3-cheese raviolis. I'm going to use one of these 1-ounce scoops for this, just to keep everything nice and even. So we'll simply portion out that cheesy goodness, and if you can't fit 4 on here, your pasta is probably too thick. And to help this seal, I like to brush on just a little bit of water on the one side. Now we simply fold over the other side and really pray that we've left ourselves enough room here. And we want to press down around the cheese with our fingers as we're sealing these. You need to squeeze out as much of that air as possible, otherwise these can blow up like little balloons when we cook them. And as fun as that sounds, we're going to be sad if one of those pops and gets cheese all over our pasta water. Anyway, once we've sealed the deal, we just want to go ahead and cut these out. Now, I see a lot of people using cookie cutters for that, and you totally can, but I have no problem simply using a regular knife for that job. And now that we have our perfect pasta parcels, it's time to poach to perfection. I'm actually only going to cook half of these today and freeze the other half, and that's a great tip. These freeze great. Once they're frozen, you don't even have to thaw them out or anything. Just dump them straight into boiling water and cook for an extra minute. When they're fresh like this, we only want to cook between 1 and 2 minutes. Usually once they start floating to the surface like this, they're ready and we can go ahead and serve. And to top these, I'm going to be using my delicious vegetarian marinara sauce. I'll put a link to that down in the description. And a couple of strategically placed basil leaves make it look all fancified. My wife and I really love the elegant simplicity of these, and I'm sure you will too. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Passion for Food. If you have, give me a thumbs up below and don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss our future episodes. And check out one of our other great recipes playing on the screen now. This has been Graham with Passion for Food.